Women have the right to know what kind of chemicals are there in their product and what kind of harmful impact they have on our health.
A sanitary pad is one product that women across the world are using. But what if that one hygiene product is actually compromising women's health? I'm in conversation with Priti Mahesh, who's the Chief Program Coordinator at Toxics Link. Now, Toxics Link is an environmental NGO in Delhi that has found high amounts of harmful chemicals in sanitary napkins. Thank you so much, Priti, for taking out time and speaking to me. Such reports tend to spread a lot of fear and misinformation also to an extent. I'm sure a lot of women have read online the reports about sanitary napkins compromising women's health and being unsafe for women. But I want to ask you this question. Can sanitary napkins actually compromise women's health? And if so, how concerning are these reports?
Yes, the study that we did, we tested 10 brands of sanitary napkins, and we found chemicals like phthalates and VOCs, which is volatile organic compounds. There are clear, studies globally that these chemicals are harmful. These chemicals have a lot of, health impacts, especially on women. So their presence in sanitary napkin is obviously a cause for concern. We don't, through this report, we didn't want to create panic, and that's not the idea at all. More and more women, from the urban as well as rural are being pushed to use menstrual product, which is very, very important because menstrual hygiene is obviously a very, very important issue. But then women have the right to know what kind of chemicals are there in their product and what kind of harmful impact they have on our health. So I think that is the concern which we were trying to raise through this study.
Right. When we say, Preeti, that these products are, likely to cause harmful impact on women's health now or in the longer run, what are the kind of harmful impacts that we're talking about?
Phthalates, kind of typically are known to cause a lot of reproductive related issues. So, they are supposed to cause PCOD, endometriosis. They can interfere with your endocrine system, which means your hormonal balance can go haywire. It can impact your reproductive system to some extent, because obviously endometriosis and PCOD are related to that. And there are also studies which indicate that there are certain phthalates which can be carcinogen as well. So, when we're looking at women using these sanitary pads and sanitary pad having these chemicals, we have to keep in mind that these products are going to be used for a very, very long term.
Absolutely.
We're talking about 30 to 40 years, kind of a usage of these sanitary pads. And, even if the quantities might be small, in these sanitary pad, but, built over so many years and, a regular exposure, because phthalates are there in a lot of plastic products, and their harmful impacts are known, but, kind of they are in a lot of consumer products. It's allowed with a certain kind of standard. But when we talk about sanitary pad, it becomes more crucial because of the kind of exposure. You're talking about a vaginal space, which is supposed to be a lot more permeable and which is supposed to absorb, anything which is in contact with the vaginal area has the capacity of absorbing 10 to 70%, higher than your skin or oral, exposure. So you're talking about an area which is sensitive. You're talking about long-term usage, and that's why, it becomes very, very concerning when we're looking at these chemicals being in sanitary pads.
Right. Are there any specific brands that we're talking about that women need to stop using? Also, I want to ask, what about brands that label them as organic? All these organic pads that are coming into the market. How organic and safe actually are they?
So in our study, we took both organic and the normal pads which are available in the market. Right. And surprisingly, we found phthalates and VOC in all of them. So, it's not that the organic pads did not have phthalates, and that's why we can't say that, start using organic pads, because, right, all 10 pads that we tested had phthalates and VOCs. Right. And it is difficult to say at this point. I wouldn't want to name brands as such. People can go through the report and see which are the brands where we tested and we didn't find it. But as I said, we tested only 10 brands. Maybe other brands which have not been tested also carry the same amount of phthalates or more. So it's very difficult to say which brands you should stop using and which brands you should start using. If you look at the labels in the sanitary pads, you'll find there no mention of any chemicals or any
Right.
constituents.
Yes.
And I think it's a women's right to know what is being,
Absolutely.
given to her as in part of sanitary pad, because we've not signed up for these chemicals. We've signed up for a sanitary pad. And that's why I feel that, product disclosure or a chemical disclosure becomes very, very crucial. There's no labeling requirement. And if you even turn the sanitary pad, whatever packet, you will find no mention of any chemicals. So that's why, the whole the study, the report is geared towards pushing the government, pushing the, brands, as well as making the women aware that please ask for these, because this is your right, and you should ask that there should be labeling, and then you can check whether those, contain those kinds of harmful chemicals. But right now there's no way to check which products are safe, which products are not, because you'll find nothing on the labels.
Priti, what do you have to say about laws that regulate the use of chemicals in such products, for example, sanitary napkins in this case? Are there no tests in place to check how safe these are or how healthy they are to use?
So sanitary pads are governed by a BIS standard, Bureau of Indian Standard, but that's voluntary and not mandatory in nature.
Okay.
And even there's no mention of such chemicals. So there are other kind of tests, physical parameters in terms of their absorbability, or they are tests to see bacterial and fungal growth. So there are tests which are there. There are parameters, but as I said, one, it is not mandatory, it's voluntary. And secondly, these chemicals, we have no standards yet for sanitary pads.
Yeah, that in itself is very alarming, I think. We are discussing this at a time, I remember you mentioned it in the beginning of the discussion, how a larger part of women in the country, especially in the rural belt, are being encouraged to use, hygienic menstrual products. But at the same time, the products that are widely used in urban areas are raising serious questions like these. What do you make of this?
This is the phase where menstrual hygiene is being promoted. It's very crucial that menstrual hygiene campaign doesn't get, compromised because
Absolutely.
of this study.
Yes.
Because obviously that's a very, very important campaign. And the effort was not to undermine that, but the idea is that even if there is, there's so much adoption of sanitary pads, especially because there are bouquet of menstrual product, but sanitary pad is one of the most commonly used product in India. And one needs to see the kind of product being sold or kind of given out, because if you look at the rural campaigns on menstrual hygiene, a lot of time low cost sanitary napkins are being distributed to them. And as you said, that we found these chemicals, harmful chemicals, in the common brands, or the brands which are commonly available in the urban markets. And these are big brands, some of them are big brands. And obviously we need to be careful the low cost sanitary pad, what kind of chemicals they may contain. So I think the whole effort should be to bring in some standard. At least there should be safety limits of what kind of chemicals these pads can contain, and what is the standard, or what is the limit that we are setting for that. And the fact that there should be labeling for people to know, what kind of products we are given. So all menstruators have the right to know what kind of chemicals goes into these products, and what kind of health impacts they can cause. I think the brands need to mention that.